Good morning. Welcome back to the Divine Now. This morning, I want to talk about what do you do when your intuition is telling you something's wrong or um, you, the truth is not being revealed to you? What do you do when you feel like something is off? So, years ago, I used to be very big into conspiracy theories, particularly when I was, pastoring and trying to understand what's really happening in the world. And I recall when I was in the army doing 9/11. I served during the first Gulf War, and then you hear about all the different things that transpired with 9/11 and all these different things, these different conspiracy theories of who was really behind it, and the Illuminati and the Trilateral Commission and all these different bodies of secret societies that's really governing the world. Right? I was really big into that for years, read books and videos and all that stuff. And then after a while, it just got tiring. Because psychologically you can't handle so much of this information. And I just laid it down. I said, this is overwhelming. One, half the stuff that you read and you dig into, you can't prove, or you can't put all the pieces together. And so it was a bit much. So for years, I just haven't really invested any time researching that world. Not saying that it's not real, not saying that things don't go on in secret places and secret societies. I remember watching the movie Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, which was about that, the last movie that Stanley Kubrick made, sort of exposing some of that world. Honestly, I just put it aside. And then when COVID sort of hit, all these different theories, it's a man-made, it's this, it's the government, all these different things. I just didn't have the time to pick that up and put that in my head. And there are other things going on in the world. More and more people are, talking about UFO sightings, and our government finally seems to be saying, oh yeah, there are things going on out there, and yada, yada, yada. Personally, I just don't have the time or the energy. Been there, done that. Don't know what to do with all that stuff. I really don't. But my intuition seems to be telling me, just beware that the world isn't as it seems. So my question is, aside from conspiracy theories and what's happening in the world and what's not happening in the world, what do you do when your intuition is saying something's off? And so I only have two suggestions. I'm not saying that these suggestions are is not limited to just these two. I'm just going to share two that I'm doing because personally I can't dive back into that world. It was exhausting. It exhausted me, my family. I was always talking about this and that and this group and that group. And personally, I just don't want to go down that road again. So for me, I've just been meditating and getting myself quiet, talking to God, talking to my thinking, who I believe in God to be for me. And I meditate and I quiet myself, and I trust. I choose to trust that as I make decisions that's good for me and my family, as I maneuver through the world, that God has me, and I'm deciding to not be afraid, because personally I have an idea of what love looks like, and I'm trying to live it out, and I believe that love will keep me and keep us as we trust love. I don't know what dark forces may or may not be, but I do believe the force of love. And I remember what Martin Luther King Jr. said. He said, only love can drive out hate. So I am trying to stay in that corridor, stay in that place, quieting myself and remembering love, and that remembering that no matter how dark or ominous the world might become, love always wins. Love always has the final say. Love always tells a better story. So for me, in all the crazy haze of life, whatever is going on with whatever, I'm remembering love. And that's where I come back to That's where I anchor myself. That's where I find myself landing as I take myself to a place of quiet prayer and meditation is love. Love always wins. I know it sounds cliche and it may sound corny, but personally, I believe that to be the truth, that love will always have a better story to tell. So, who's behind this? Who's behind that? I look at the world. Personally, I have very little trust in media. I have very little trust in news sources. I have very little trust in the organized church. I have very little trust in bodies of people that tells us what truth is and then want us to do something with that truth. I have a very big giant question mark about people controlling things. So I try to find my own sense of self, my own sense of quiet, and I just kind of walk through and I ask myself, okay, what's next? What do I do in the next moment? What do I do in this next minute? And for me, that next minute is loving the person in front of me, loving the circle around me, strangers, friend, foe. Loving all those groups of people. That's how I choose to live my life. I can't control anything else, but I can control my mindset. I can control the climate that I create in any given scenario. I can control me. I can control this. I don't have control over a lot of other things. So I'm trying to be an influencer of love and peace and purpose in the midst of all the craziness. So I'm thankful that I studied all that stuff in the past, conspiracies and all these different histories. I'm very grateful for that world that I have a sense that something does exist in there, whatever that might be. But I personally, I can't go down that road again. That was too exhausting. It was too much to think about. And I'm trying to be lighthearted, not irresponsible. There may be a time when, courage might call us to rise up and stand up for something bigger than ourselves, and we can't afford to keep our heads buried in the sand. I understand that piece. However, I want to be happy, man. I want to be happy. I want to be happy in the midst of chaos, in the midst of question marks. I want to be happy, and I want to be joyful, and I want to be an instrument of love. So for me, how do I respond when my intuition is saying something's off? I get quiet, I listen, and I let that small, still voice talk to me that's coming from the inside. And I find that it settles me. It gives me peace. It gives me calm. And it always reminds me that love tells a better story and love will win. So I hope this is helpful for you. If you feel sort of like unsure about things and you feel uneasy and you're not sure what to trust, trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Trust that voice inside of you. And listen to it. And who knows what that voice might call you to do, or how that voice might call you to respond or not respond. But find that place of quiet and calm. Anne Frank, the young girl who lived through she didn't live through it, but she experienced the Holocaust, and she said something very profound. That she said that it basically, in the midst of all the darkness of the Holocaust and what was taking place, she tried to keep her mind focused on the beauty that still remains. That even in all the ugly and all the horror, at 13 years old and 15 years old, she was able to quiet herself and find the beauty that still remained, even in her enemies, even in the ones who was causing the most hate. So that's my word to you today. Peace, namaste. Bless you. Have a good one.